Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
You got the John Wick of birds.
Yeah, the John Wick of birds outside my office right now. I apologize if you guys can hear. This bird is losing its goddamn mind. This bird's like, let's go!
He wants to fight you.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He is making direct eye contact with me. Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched John Wick Chapter 4. Is this a book?
Is that the title of the runtime? Oh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Good impression. This is good.
Saying goodbyes?
Saying hello.
You think your wife can hear you?
No.
And why bother?
Maybe I'm wrong.
You're going to die.
Maybe not.
Is this the director of the original?
It's Chad Stahelski, or however you pronounce his name. So yeah, as far as I know, it was him and the other guy is Derek Kolstad, I believe. So okay. they've made all of them.
Okay. And so it's been John Wick, then John Wick 2, and then John Wick Parabellum
Chapter
for some
3.
reason.
John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum.
Still not sure what that means. And then this one, John Wick Chapter 4. It is, sorry, Parabellum is the only one that has a weird...
Yeah, it's the only one with a subtitle. Everything else is just like...
I don't get it.
Next number. Bring it on.
This is...
Next.
This made, I guess, the news a bit for being so long. It's 2 hours and 49 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's just call it an even 3 hours.
Let's just call it what it is. It's 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Especially because there's an end credits scene that's at the very end of the credits, and they make you want to sit and watch it. Yeah. They
sure do. And I'm just going to say spoilers.
Oh, yeah. We're going to spoil this.
For this movie. And R.I.P. Lance Reddick.
Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah.
And then he gets shot right away in the movie. You're like, damn it.
They super kill him in the movie. And I was like,
They turbo kill him.
It's fine. I mean, I think I don't know if this is for sure. I think actors like death scenes, right? That's got to be fun.
Sure. Yeah.
For an actor.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he had a good time. I mean, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Man,
I hope he had
Tom,
a good time.
how'd you like John Wick Chapter 4?
Okay. There are, like, most of this movie I really enjoyed. All of the action scenes are incredible. This movie is entirely too long.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of inexcusably long, in my opinion. I think there's way too much building out the universe in this one with a lot of other characters that were fine. It was just, it felt like it was too much for one movie.
I hate to say this. Yes, I really enjoyed this film. There are some amazing performances.
Mm-hmm.
There are some amazing things in this. It actually made me a little excited for how this series is going to grow. That said, I do kind of wish everything wasn't being Marvel about it, because I'm gonna go ahead and spoil this film right at the top. John Wick dies, which
does
I want to talk about. Well,
does he?
This is the thing. I'm not going to spoil other things, but there's been a few action franchises lately that have actually killed off their main character. And I actually think that's a really cool idea. So part of me hopes he is dead. But yes, there's no there's no telling, right?
Right. There's absolutely no way to tell. They end it
I hope
ambiguously
he
enough.
dies. Yeah, they
It's-
don't
it's-
show.
I
He
mean,
slumps over. It's like
She
Shane.
slumps over, and then it fades into Ian McShane and Lawrence Fishburne at his grave with his headstone. And then Lawrence Fishburne says, "Where do you think he is, heaven or hell?" And then Ian McShane kind of gives him this wry look, and he says, what does he say? Who can say? Or like, there's no way to know.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he's watching us through high-powered binoculars right now.
Yeah. He just bursts up out of the grave.
Yeah, it's one of those. Oh, that would be amazing. Holy shit. Like the stories that would bury their pet cats and the cats aren't dead and they yeah. I want that. I want that for John Wick. I mean,
Zombie John Wick.
Yeah, I honestly think they have nowhere else to go, and I think they're trying to Marvel this, which is like they're doing that show, The Continental,
Yeah.
and they're clearly with the post credits. The post credits, everybody stays because they're like, maybe he'll show back up, but he doesn't. It's to extend the lore.
Yeah.
And it's tough, man, because part of me thinks like, I love Keanu Reeves. I fucking, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
But this is a stunt movie,
Yeah.
and you don't need Keanu Reeves for that. But he's kind of the best main character for it because he's such this blank fucking slate.
He sure is.
He's just a GTA character.
Yeah, he's. You really notice it in this one because he's not in a lot of it. Like there are chunks of time where we don't check in with John Wick.
Right, but he's
and
also
he doesn't.
Yeah, he's probably hitting 60, right?
Yeah,
he's probably like, listen, at a certain point, I probably
can't do these
be John
rolls
Wick.
and flips anymore because I'm old. Father time, etc., etc.
Right, so it's not inconceivable for him to say, "Kill me," because that is the end of that character's arc.
Right. I mean, the guy he goes to shoot in the desert in the beginning, and you see it in the trailers too. He says as much, like right at the beginning of the movie. It's like, well, the only way you're going to find peace is when you die. And he's like, yeah, I know. So it's
right.
You've sort of known, kind of since the first movie, really, that this is kind of the only way that any of this can end for him.
Right. And so let's assume for a second that they are smart enough to actually not pull, the Matrix and like resurrect him, or pick a Marvel film and resurrect him, or find if they're smart enough to say, yeah, this is it for him. I think that's cool. I think maybe they should have done it a film ago. Because it does feel like they stretched it out a little bit.
It's so crowded. I think that's my biggest complaint about the movie is that it's so crowded.
Yeah, and like ultimately,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no! Ultimately, the lore doesn't matter because it's the story of John Wick is a story of a man who just snowballs, right?
Yeah,
and so he just keeps getting in over his head.
It's like he just can't stop.
Right. Because they won't stop either, and it's the idea of Ian McShane says it's like you cut off one head, another 3 more. It's the Hydra thing, and so like it always feels like it's like at the end. Also spoilers, he gets absolved of like basically the table says like, all right, we're not going after you anymore, and so you could argue that that's like. That's a way to end it, but it feels like they like wanted to super end it.
Yeah.
And they're like, also you're dead. What were you going to say?
I agree that the lore doesn't matter, but I enjoy it. Like I enjoy the lore, and I didn't dislike any specific part of the movie where it's just introducing us with new characters and spending time with those characters. Like I liked all of the characters fine. It just you really start to notice the runtime in this movie. It's too long, which sucks because the finale is like this 45-minute action sequence where it's a car chase across France and they do this cool fight like in fucking traffic. It's incredible. And then they have to climb up these stairs and that scene is incredible. And then that goes directly into the finale, which is a duel between like a pistols duel between Keanu and Donnie Yen, and that fucking rules.
Right,
But we
so-
get that, like, in the middle of that sequence, like, I'm feeling exhausted, and I shouldn't be, because, like, this is, like, the hypest fucking train you can be on, right? Like a non-stop action sequence that just keeps escalating, and then at the very end, it winnows all the way back down just to two guys in a pistol duel. It's great.
Yes.
It's fucking great. But the movie is so long up until that point. Like, we've already sat through 2 hours at that point.
Right. So it's an interesting situation because I would not cut any of the end.
No, hell no.
I know what I would cut. I still don't want to cut it because that's the issue is like it is too long. And then if you say that and the writer or director says, okay, what do you want to cut? I'd be like, I don't know. Okay. I don't know what I want to cut. But
the obvious thing
if I had to,
would be,
gun to my head,
yeah.
I would cut the Russian stuff because that is like a side mission. They do this thing.
Yeah.
So I guess we can talk about the plot.
Mm-hmm.
So the one of them Skarsgårds, Bill Skarsgård,
Yeah, Marquis de Pennywise.
Yes, he shows up
With an
at the
outrageous
Continental.
French accent.
Yeah, he's doing a thing. He knows what movie he's in.
Yeah, he knows what movie he's in.
Everybody does, and I want to talk about some performances that blew me away. Mainly one, and that person is Donnie Yen.
It's Donnie Yen. Yeah, he's great in this.
He's killing it. Was he the one who in an interview said that he like rewrote the character to be less of an Asian stereotype? I
not sure.
I think that was him.
I'm not sure.
Right. And whatever it is, he's killing it.
He is so good. Yeah, he's great.
So the idea is, that all the big baddies are going after John Wick, and he's still like on the run. Right. I forget how 3 ended, but they blow up the Continental.
Yeah, 3 ends with Ian McShane blasting him off the roof of the Continental.
Yeah. And they're like, you didn't do good enough, Ian McShane. We're blowing up your Continental. I'm going to shoot Lance Reddick, and you are going to be shamed, and you are fired, essentially.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, and so it's the idea of if you're harboring John Wick, you're bad. And John Wick is in, where is he? Fucking Osaka, right?
Yeah, he scoots off to Japan to Scorpion's Continental.
Right. That is Scorpion.
It is Scorpion. Yeah.
Yeah. He's hanging out with Scorpion, and Scorpion's daughter is like, this is bad. And the bad guys recruit Donnie Yen, who's like a friend of John Wick. And you kind of know, like, oh, fuck, this is going to be intense.
Yeah.
Because Donnie Yen is he's a blind man, and he's just like real fucking doesn't give a shit, but they're going to kill his daughter is the idea. So like, it's all that respect where it's like, everybody's just like, you got to do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the nobody with the dog.
Mr. Nobody. Yeah.
Was that supposed to be Halle Berry?
I don't think so.
Because it occurred to me that could have been written for Halle Berry, and then they couldn't get her, and they were like, all right, let's make her this other person.
Maybe, but he is written in a way that you're not really sure what he's up to at first. And then it becomes clear that he's kind of sort of helping John Wick, but just enough to keep driving the bounty on his head up because he wants to kill John Wick and collect as much as he possibly can.
Yeah. Basically, I love his character because he's just a businessman.
Yeah, he's just a fucking hired killer. Yeah.
Yeah, but he just keeps twisting Bill Skarsgård's arm.
Yeah.
And at first, it's like Skarsgård has the upper hand, and then by the end, he's just like, now I want 40 million.
Right,
like,
yeah. By the end, yeah, Billy Skars is just like, whatever you say, man. Just please kill John Wick.
Kill him. And so it's a great little side bit, him with that dog. And so John Wick is, trying to figure out how to deal with this situation. And ultimately what they land on and all the... first of all, Scorpion dies, is killed by Donnie Yen, and the daughter, who's also awesome. They're all awesome.
Yeah, everybody's awesome. He's reluctantly killed by Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen doesn't want to do any of this stuff. So it's like
it's all his friends.
Right. Yeah. It's a real classic bad guy who isn't really bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's great in it because he's
so
like,
good,
I'll do it. I'll kill you because of my daughter.
Yeah.
Like, I care about my daughter more than any of you, but please just like, don't, if you can, like, And so that's his whole deal is like when the daughter goes to attack him, he's just like, no, live.
Yeah,
Live.
and then
Don't attack me.
he does the Kill Bill thing as she's leaving. He says, I'll be waiting for you.
Yeah. Because, it's that idea of like, listen, I understand.
I know you got to run this back, but
Yeah.
let's not do it tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
You're already shot. She's already been shot at that point, so.
Yeah. And so that's what the beginning sets up. And then, basically, John Wick he wants to challenge the Marquis to a duel because he realizes that's the official way to kill this guy.
Yeah,
to
Winston
do it
tells
through
him
the
that.
rules.
Ian McShane tells him that.
Yeah, if you do it through the rules, then he gets his revenge.
In one of the funniest pieces of dialogue in the movie, where Ian McShane very, dramatically and authoritatively is like, the rules of a duel, Mr. Wick. And then he's like, the rules of a duel are a myth.
Yeah.
And he has to say, oh, they're very real, and then launches into this like incredibly ridiculous custom, like secret ancient custom that these weird cabal of international hitmen have.
It's so stupid. Every line,
and it just
by the way,
boils down to pistols at dawn. I mean, which is fine. That's that's classic. But yeah,
they could have done knives. That was on the table.
Yeah.
No, every line that John Wick said, by the way, the audience I was in laughed in a good way. Like
he's
every
only
line,
got about 10 lines.
Yeah, and it's so funny.
Yeah, he barely speaks in this movie.
You're right about the runtime, by the way, because the audience I was in loved it. And at the end, like in literally the last 15 minutes, at least 3 or 4 audience members missed it because they ran out to go piss. Like, because when you have that 45-minute action sequence leading up, there's nowhere to piss.
There's no spot to go pee, yeah.
Yeah. So I know several people missed the duel, and the duel is great.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. So, basically he selects this duel. He does it through the system, and then Ian McShane is like, I'll back you up. I'll be your second. And I get the Continental reinstated and you guys rebuild it. And, everything, they reverse everything. John Wick gets officially like left alone if he wins. And of course, if John Wick loses, then they're going to kill Ian McShane. Bill Skarsgård chooses as his second. Donnie Yen. Should probably note that Clancy Brown is all over this.
Yeah, Clancy Brown plays like the high table guy. And Billy Bills, doesn't pick Donnie Yen as his second. He picks Donnie Yen to fight for him. Which
I was like, fuck that, man. Why does that get to happen? But whatever.
And that's Game of Thrones rules, man.
Yeah. Skarsgård,
he basically picked the mountain on his ass.
Yeah. I remember asking this question in the trailer because I was like, how is Bill Skarsgård gonna do anything against Keanu Reeves? The answer is he isn't.
He isn't.
Yeah, he basically plays like this sniveling little creep who just throws people at the problem, which is great. It's great. Again, everybody's firing on all cylinders. Everybody knows exactly what they are here to do.
Yeah, especially fucking Scott Adkins.
Oh yeah, what does Scott Adkins play? Is he the big guy?
He was the big guy. He was the big German guy.
That's so funny because
he's basically doing Colin Farrell in the Batman. Like he's playing it that huge. It's like he's in a
he's a Batman villain.
Yeah.
Yes,
he's doing like Goldmember.
Right.
Like he's over the top.
Definitely a Batman villain. Yeah. And that's the stuff I would cut, but I'm like, I don't want to cut
right, like that seems to be
because what the fuck was that?
When you said earlier, if gun to my head I had to cut something, I was thinking you cut the Scott Adkins stuff because that's about 20-25 minutes. That is really just a side mission because all it is he goes to the Russians and like, we'll help you, but you got to go kill Scott Adkins first.
Right. They make up this rule, and I mean they could throw in whatever fucking rules they want. But they're basically like, you can't do the duel unless you belong to a house.
Yeah,
and he goes to his Russian, and they're like, you got to kill someone for me. And it's Scott Adkins at a fucking rave.
Yeah, it's Scott Adkins in a giant sumo suit.
Yes,
at a German nightclub.
In a fat bastard suit.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he was a Batman villain. I was just, when I saw him, I was like, what the fuck are we doing right now?
Over the top German voice. It's so, but I would never ever cut it. Like, gun to my
Right.
head, that's where the obvious thing to cut, but you would never cut it because it's like 25 minutes of pure awesomeness.
Of
Like,
bliss. I want a whole
it's so
fucking movie
great.
about him. Yeah, but technically, in terms of the plot, it's this side mission.
Right. It's
It really is.
It's the most inconsequential to the actual story.
Right. Like if I were writing this movie without having seen, because now we've seen it, so we're like, I wouldn't cut that. But if you're seeing it on paper, you'd go, nah, I don't need that. You know, like that would be such the obvious thing to cut when you're facing a script this long. But I bet the script also wasn't that long.
Right.
It was
'Cause
probably
it's a lot of they fight.
they fight for 30 minutes.
Yep.
Fucking goddamn. We haven't even talked about the fighting yet. Shit. Yeah. So basically, he goes and kills Scott Adkins. That's the side mission. So he can become part of the house to do this duel. And then, so the idea is duel at dawn in France in front of this church. And it's night, and they're like, tomorrow. And so the 45-minute action sequence, basically, John Wick has a night to get to this place. He's in Paris. But basically, Bill Skarsgård throws every assassin at him.
Yeah.
And you know, it's very familiar to the other John Wicks, where it's just him trying to get from A to B and dealing with just every fucking motherfucker, every stuntman.
There's so many assassins. There's so many assassins.
And that's where we get like, because I remembered at that point, like that car scene from the trailer, and I was like, we haven't even gotten to that. Like that realization dawned on me of like, oh my God, there's so much more, isn't there?
There's a shitload more. And Dave, he kills hundreds of people in this
He
movie.
sure does.
The top-down gunfight.
I wanted to talk about that because that was kind of, I'm sure CGI was a part of it, but it was breathtaking to watch.
It was so cool.
Because he has the dragon's breath shotgun.
And in that sequence alone, I think he kills 50 people.
Yeah. They do these wonder shots. Basically, he's in this abandoned house and the camera cranes up. And if you've seen like Minority Report, Spielberg does this, where it just starts going room to room from above. I believe that fucking a newer version was Malignant did it.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that, like this tracking wonder kind of going room to room like that, except like it's almost like a fucking you're playing what's it called?
Hotline Miami.
Yeah. That is the one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically that. It's like a video game, and John Wick is just fucking tumbling around, shooting people and beating people up. And I'm sure it's several shots stitched together.
Right, yeah.
But that doesn't really matter. We should talk about the action because this movie made me realize like I think we are in the golden era of stunts. And I mean that. Like, I'm sure if you told that to like the people who made this, they'd be like, no, Indiana Jones, or like, you know, the old like fucking
Golden Harvest,
Buster Keaton stuff, or like
kung fu movies.
Yeah, I disagree.
This action is so fucking good, Dave. It's so good.
Right. Because we've gotten more and more sophisticated with this, that we're seeing this combination of real stunts that are definitely augmented or stitched together, where it's like crash pads are being edited out, you know, like wonders are being probably glued together, but the people are doing the actual stunts. That's what's important.
Right.
But I'm sure the cars aren't there.
You can tell. I was just about to say, in the fight in traffic, you can tell that the stunt people are being filmed on a green screen, and then they're blending it together.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter when it's done like this. To me,
no,
it's so seamless, and you're still watching stunts. You're watching people do incredible things that would have been incredible either way. They're just playing with the environment, and that's really what it comes down to in this. Is that what makes John Wick such an effective action film? Is they take real fucking people who are really talented, and then they just put them in a new environment. It's just really fucking good.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
like nothing against wire work, but it's way more impressive. This, you know, because wire work is a augmenting.
It's its own thing too. I don't think, at least I don't when I watch it. I still appreciate it, but I don't appreciate it in the same way. It feels more artistic.
Yes,
I don't know.
But
It
the
like
reason I brought
intentionally
it
like
up is
abstract or not abstract, but anyway.
yeah. Oh, for sure. The reason I brought it up is because Wirework is a real skilled martial artist doing something with augmented by effects, right?
Yeah.
So is this. They're taking them, putting them on a green screen. So like, it still like weirdly works. I'm curious to know about the specific car stunts, like when he's circling them and shooting. Like that felt like a real car. Like that's what I mean. Where it's like they feel like they know what to make CGI and what not.
What you can make CGI and what and
or
what
you
and what and what not to.
or what you should.
Yeah,
It's like you don't
what I
want
meant. Without like
you don't
diminishing the scene to people to the audience watching.
Yeah, exactly. Like in John Wick 3, he does that motorcycle fight where he's beating people up. They're not doing motorcycle stunts in that moment. So that was done on a green screen. But I guarantee once they show that motorcycle like zipping around a corner or doing a jump, that's probably a practical jump. Like that's what makes it so like they know that the stunt itself
needs to be
the
quote
feat.
unquote real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
The choreography to all of it. Like the fighting, obviously, but like the car stuff, and just like the general stunts, like all the people falling down those stairs, like that staircase. Yeah. My God,
right? Because this is also like you can feel the Jackie Chan in it, which is like they know to sort of tell a story, and they know to have fun, and they know to create environments that are going to be chaotic in an amazing way.
Yeah.
That's the other big part of this.
Yeah, like the fight, like the fight in the middle of the street for sure. In
fight
traffic,
in the middle of the street.
That was so. Gosh, every
people,
sequence is so fucking fun.
Yes, the fucking first one where they're like at the Osaka Continental and they're in like a samurai museum. It reminded me of when they in the third one where they go in the knife museum.
Dave, when he picked up the nunchucks, Dave.
Right. It was like,
holy
oh,
shit,
yes.
the nunchucks. I could not sit still the entire time he had those nunchucks.
Yes. You know what I loved about the nunchucks? Is it felt like Keanu Reeves hadn't quite mastered them, and that's what made it actually better.
Right, because
he's
just wailing. Like, he can do a little bit. And,
right.
and you're right, it totally works, because you can imagine John Wick being like, well, I know enough that I can kill somebody with this, but it's not going to be, I'm not going to look like graceful.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
Right.
I can do a few things.
So yeah, he can do like a little bit, but he's mostly just wailing on dudes with these nunchucks.
So good. And then that general idea, those soldiers who are just bulletproof, it's very much
that was such a cool idea.
It's like video game
rules.
Like there's the different levels of video game baddies, and so these guys are just covered in metal, so like he has to shoot them like I don't know 20 times
or get
every
really,
time
or get really
close,
clever,
yeah,
or get really clever and creative with how he gets up underneath the armor. And I also like that there's a bunch of like all the high table goons, all of Billy Skars's goons also have the bulletproof suits that John Wick has, which makes for fun gun kata scenes because everybody's kind of bulletproof. So like shit. How are we gonna do this?
This is what Kata wishes it were. Like I feel like the director of Equilibrium is watching this like, fuck!
I was so close!
Yeah. That's what was in my head this whole time while I was doing Kata in my backyard.
Yeah, it was Keanu Reeves crushing a dude's balls with a nunchuck.
Yeah.
Which he does.
He sure does. And so, yeah, there's that sequence, the fucking nunchuck. And then Donnie Yen is killing it in that when he's like eating the ramen and like he's just, he knows he's cool and he's just being so fucking cool.
And he sets up the doorbells, like the motion doorbells. So every time somebody runs by it, he knows where they are.
It's the Simpsons gag with the Yakuza.
Yeah,
like, look
100%.
at that guy. You know he's going to do something.
Oh, but the guy hasn't done anything yet. You know what he does? It's going to be really good.
Yeah. That's Donnie Yen throughout this.
Yeah.
It's just, he sets up doorbells because he's doing this thing where he's playing it as like, he's definitely a blind man. So he like sets up doorbell, like you said, these sensors and like does certain things where like you can tell Donnie Yen really thought about it.
Yeah.
Of like, how would this blind man fight in this really fucking cool way? And he's absolutely murdering the role. He steals the show.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
he is very, very good.
Because on top of that,
it's not just all the cool shit he can do as Donnie Yen, but like his performance is good.
That's what I was about to say. On top of that, I was just like, after watching this, I was like, I kind of want to see him just in a drama, or like, I just want to see him like, just like in a comedy, because he was funny in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Donnie Yen, he's always been a good actor, but I don't think he's ever gotten anything meaty because he's Donnie Yen, you know?
Right. Yeah. You
and so
cast
people,
him to kick things.
Yeah, and they're like, be serious and kick things or whatever. And so like watching him in this, it was like, fuck, man, like give him more to do. He's such a good actor in this. It's yeah. So yeah, there's that fight. What were some of the, we talked about the
man, there's
Paris one. I'm trying to save the best for last.
There's I mean, the whole Osaka thing is like kind of 3 different action sequences, because there's that,
yeah,
and then he teams up with Scorpion's daughter and they fight like a whole army of dudes, and that's awesome. Like she climbs up this one dude's back with knives. You remember?
Yes, and he rocks up the stairs, and she's just
climbing up his back with these knives.
That fight might have been. Sorry, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because this movie, you forget the beginnings because it scrambles your brain.
It's 3
by the
hours
end.
long. Yeah,
yeah, and it's 3 hours long of them pumping these fights. That might be one of my favorite John Wick fights. Period, because it's her versus a heavy. And they know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
It's this big motherfucker, and she's wrapping around him like a little fucking chupacabra, just like taking him out one stab at a time. And it's so good because she's using her whole body to like launch him in the air, and he's fucking her up too. And then he ends with him basically trying to crawl away from her up these stairs, and she's just on his back stabbing him.
Yep, stabbing
until
up
he
his
stops
back.
moving. It's so
like
good.
A cat. Like a cat climbing the drapes.
Yes, it really was. It's fuck.
So there was that, and then it's Scorpion fights Donnie Yen, and that's dope because they have a dope ass sword fight.
Yes, they put him in an environment that's like, oh yeah, we're gonna fight to the death here, aren't we?
Of course, yeah. Obviously.
It's very Kill Bill, the ending of Volume 2.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, Donnie Yen even says to the daughter, "It's like I'll be waiting for you."
Yeah. And then oh fuck. And then the Scott Atkins stuff is glorious.
Yeah, it's such a
They also do something that John Wick rarely does, is if you watch, the bystanders are a little concerned. Just a little.
A little bit.
Like a few people stop dancing.
For the most part, they continue dancing. Wow. While Keanu and Scott Adkins are fighting each other to the death in the middle of this club.
It ends with him throwing him off of a thing and him falling directly on his head.
And Scott Adkins' dead face. Yes, I fucking laughed out
doofus.
Loud. Yeah, like he just put the doofiest look on his face.
I can't stress this enough. Like, just go Google Scott Atkins. Scott Adams.
Not Adams.
That would have been a very different movie. Scott Adkins in John Wick.
Yeah, it's incredible. He's so fucking funny in this movie.
It's like when you see him, you're like, what? Like it's just like this. Like he's in a completely different movie.
Yeah,
like when again,
he's Batman like gold. I'm serious. He's gold member. Like that's how he behaves almost.
Because he has a bit too. He's like, we're gonna play cards.
Yeah, and
do like this card thing. He's got like a Caesar cut. He's got a fat suit on, so his head looks really little, and he's like puffed up.
Yeah, and he's got all these gold like, teeth, gold fronts,
and this doofy looking smile.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's a real choice.
Yeah, and it's great. I also bet it's easier to do stunts when you're covered in padding like that. You know.
Maybe. I mean, he's throwing kicks and stuff, so that's probably harder, but...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But he's up for it. It's incredible. And that sequence is great. So basically, he just does this... He's like, we're going to play cards at this table for, like, who lives. And then, of course, the reveal is he has 5-2, so he's cheating. And everybody just... Johnny Yen's there, and
so's Mr. Nobody.
Yeah. And they all just fucking go nuts on each other. And it's fucking glorious. It's a classic John Wick one. It's EDM nightclub fight, which they've had at least, I don't know, 10 of these. There's at least one per movie.
Yeah, I think there's two in two. Like there's two nightclubs.
Yeah, that makes
in
sense.
part two.
Because it's so good. Because the other thing I want to point out about the way they make these movies is, like, obviously Keanu Reeves has stunt people.
Yeah.
Like, filling in. He can do a lot of stuff. I wouldn't want to get in a fight with Keanu Reeves.
No,
because,
and
you know, he's legit.
yeah, he trained a lot for that. He trained a lot for the driving. But then, you know, even if the actor's
And for
up,
the Matrix, like, this dude is, you know.
yeah. But, you know, even if the actor's up for a lot of it, obviously you don't want to let him do everything, because if he gets hurt, then you got to stop the movie.
Right, even if they can.
Right.
And the way they shoot this movie, in a way that I'm honestly surprised more stunt movies don't. And I know why they like to do it this other way. They'll do stuff where it's like silhouetted or in a nightclub, or it's shot in a really creative way that you can actually hide the fact sometimes that stunt people, and you can show like this uncut, you know, they don't have that problem where they cut on the hits, you know. These people are fucking pros, so they don't need to hide the fighting. It's not the Bourne identity. And so they find other ways to, like, I feel like, hide cuts, or shoot it in a way that hides like safety procedures or stunt people. And a lot of that just has to do with they shoot it in a really artistic way. Like, these are beautiful looking films.
They are. They really are.
Yeah, they're the kind of films where it's like, I don't know why they can't be up for like best cinematography. I don't see why not, you know?
Yeah, honestly. Like truthfully, I agree. Like, I think these movies are uniformly gorgeous.
They really are. So I guess we've covered everything but the stair fight and the ending. And I got to talk about that staircase fight, because that was fucking brilliant.
It was so good.
Brilliant idea. And and not enough movies do this. It reminded me a little bit of Old Boy, which is...
It was really like, and they did this with I forget what it's called, but it's the famous arch in France. That's where they have the traffic fight. Like, They really wanted to get all the meat off the bone. You know, like, okay, we got this really awesome location. Let's do everything we can think of.
Yes. So it's like, what, 10 flights of stairs?
I think they say it's apparently another famous area of Paris. They say it's something like 250 steps, I think.
Yeah, these outdoor stairs, and he has to fight his way up there as the final thing. And it's just, it's a spectacular stunt sequence that ends with the big bad showing up and kicking John Wick all the way back down the stairs.
It's so good.
Another moment, the audience laughed because it's cartoonish, because he just keeps hitting he just keeps going boom, 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 down the stairs. He keeps going to a comical degree.
Yeah.
And it's such a good high stakes idea, because he's trying to get somewhere by sunrise, and if he doesn't, he forfeits and he's executed. And he has 3 minutes left when they kick him down the stairs, and it's just like, oh, that's so good.
It's so good, yeah. And then Donnie Yen shows up.
And he's like, I need you to get up the stairs again.
Yeah.
And that's so they could have a duel. So Donnie Yen helps him. And also what they've established is the Mr. Nobody, who's been trying to kill John Wick. He's gotten the bounty up to an amount where he's like, I'll kill him now. And he's about to, and a henchman almost kills his dog, and John Wick kills the henchman, saves his dog. And it's another one of those moments where the audience like cheered. And obviously Mr. Nobody's like, well, I can't kill John Wick now. Yeah. There's like one point where he's aiming at him and the dog's looking at him all guilty, and he's like, all right, fine.
Yeah, all right, fine. I guess we won't get $40 million today.
Yeah. And then, of course, the guy who tried to kill the dog. Or no, it's another guy.
No, it's the same guy.
It is the same guy.
Yeah, it's the burly kind of henchman that's been Billy Skars's right-hand man the entire movie.
Right, he gets got by the dog going for his balls.
Yeah. Rips his balls off.
Yeah, and then he shoots him and the dog pisses on him. And it's like,
I forgot about the piss.
It's perfect.
Really humiliate this poor guy.
Yeah, fuck it. Look, he's a John Wick villain. They know what they're doing.
He's giving it his all the whole movie, too. He's in like 5 action sequences, and then he gets pissed on.
So good. So good. It's perfect.
Probably saw this movie with his parents.
Yeah. The parents probably loved it.
That's me getting pissed on.
Yeah, I mean, he's
a bad guy. He was going to shoot the dog, so you want him to get pissed on.
Yeah. And then it ends with dueling guns at dawn, and it's like old-timey guns between him and Donnie Yen. They start 30 paces away, and then they keep going in. And the bit is basically they're getting shots into each other until they're very close.
Yeah, they have to
it's
close
really
the distance.
fucking tense.
It's so good. Yeah, if they don't, they have to close the distance by 10 paces each time. If they don't kill each other.
I was legitimately watching this like a puzzle because I was like, neither of them are going to die. In this moment, I'm not saying they won't die in general in the film, but I knew that like obviously they're old friends shooting at each other. You can't have either of them die. Maybe Donnie Yen, but it felt like they really weren't going to kill him. Yeah. And so it's that idea of like, what the fuck are they going to do? And I thought this was very well done. Their final like 10 paces away, they shoot, John Wick goes down, and he's like, really wounded, and Donnie Yen isn't. And then Skarsgård's like, I want to finish him. I reserve the right. Yeah. And he grabs the gun and goes to John Wick. And then fucking Ian McShane is like, you arrogant bastard. He didn't fire his shot. And John Wick just blows his fucking head off.
He sure does.
It's glorious. That was a really good conclusion to that.
It really was. Yeah. It was very well done.
Yeah. That's the thing about this movie is the action is smart from every style. Mm-hmm. Like, this is a duel. It's a duel scene. It's very quiet and just based off tension. Yeah. And it still managed to be extremely fucking good.
Yeah. Because these two characters finally in a fight to the death that they've been teasing for the past 3 hours almost. And you like both of them. Like, you like Donnie Yen.
Right. And John Wick says to Ian McShane, will you take me home? And then he slumps on the steps. The one thing I was expecting, I was surprised. I thought the dog was going to come up and like sit by him. Because the dog looks like the original dog, but grown up. Mm-hmm. I thought they were going to do something there, but they didn't. And John Wick slumps over and then cut to grave. Beloved husband, which is something they set up earlier that he wants that on his grave. So it really feels to me like
it's ambiguous enough that he could be dead if Keanu decides he doesn't want to do anymore. But if he decides to come back, they can very, very easily say, well, he just had Ian McShane fake his death so that nobody, they say that he's out, but he wants to make sure that nobody fucks with him anymore.
That's definitely what they did. Yeah. And again, like without naming names, other action film series recently kind of did something like that, where again it felt like, okay, if we get them back, they'll be back, but if not, they're definitely dead. And then the post credits is basically the daughter going after Donnie Yen, which to me implies like, they want to continue that, right? Mm-hmm. They want to do a new
and you liked her too, so that'll be, if they do a movie where it's the two of them fighting, it should be interesting because you like both characters. So
right, that's the thing is they absolutely did. They did the Marvel thing, which annoys me, but the characters they were working with were characters that I'm like, I'll watch a whole movie with them. Yeah, 100%.
Sure. Donnie Yen fuck people up with a sword.
Yeah. At the same time, it's still that problem where I'm like, I don't know, just give him his own movie, call it something else, make it set in a different. I did think you don't have to. Not everything has to be a cinematic universe.
That's true.
John Wick is specifically called John Wick.
Yeah,
yeah.
I did think it was very, very funny that he was a blind man with a cane who was named Kane.
Oh yeah, that is not creative.
Yeah, it's like Daredevil's mentor, Stick.
Right. Right. At least Stick kind of, it was because of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure like that's probably why they call this guy Kane.
But, Jesus Christ.
Unless it's just a wild coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. That is very silly.
It's all I could think of every time they said his name.
Yeah. Not great. But yeah, I mean,
it'd be like if John Wick's name was Gunn.
I mean, John Wick, like a wick,
Right. It's,
like
yeah,
burning. It's
down,
still
yeah.
pretty dumb.
I get
mean,
it.
these movies, the writing is dumb. That's the point, you know. Like it's not trying to be. I think the dialogue's fine. Like you know,
I wouldn't
but
say
like,
the writing is dumb because it all hangs together and it doesn't like insult your intelligence really, as long as you're meeting it halfway. As long as you're like
Right.
accepting that this underworld exists, then
the writing.
but it's
is-
not complicated.
It's by design,
Yeah.
kind of dumb.
Yeah.
but like it's smart in the ways it needs to be. Like I would argue the dialogue is fun, and not bad. It's not badly written, you know.
Yeah.
like you're saying. But like the world and the names and the aesthetic. It's all
the ancient
dumb.
rules of the duel.
Yeah, it's all like it's kids. Like if
Yeah.
they revealed that these were just kids on a playground
Right.
in their imagination, it would make sense.
Anytime they need to come up with like, actually, I have an explosion-proof vest, they just like
Yeah,
stop
exactly.
and have Winston explain some fucking cockamamie bullshit about the high
Right.
table.
Yeah, it's very silly.
Yeah.
But you know that's by
Yeah, but
design.
who cares? Like, I love it. I fucking love how blown out and crazy this universe is.
Yeah, me too. It's tough because this is too long. There is certain aspects again, like cinematic universe of it all. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
I
need that.
Part of me is like, I liked the simplicity of the first movie. That was the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
Was how simple it was. But these are stunt showcases, and so there's no like if this was not what it is that there's so much that is forgiven because of the stunts.
Yeah.
It's just like otherwise this would have gotten I would have been so sick of this universe and this idea of like taking an action movie and trying to make it you know a good comparison is Fast and the Furious. That I'm getting sick of because I'm like, you're trying to be Marvel, you're trying to spin it off. The problem is Fast and Furious stopped having good stunts. And it's like, I would forgive that if the stunts were entertaining me.
Right. It feels like it leans into the meme too much. But John Wick is an example of a series where it's successful in doing the thing that it is setting out to do. Right. Like it's trying to be this amazing stunt movie, and it totally is. So like it's the same way you would like you'd forgive a really great comedy, like a really funny comedy, for having like shitty costumes. It's like, well, it's not a
porno,
period. Right?
Like, if the porno has sex in it, then it's a porno.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's why Fast and Furious to me feels like a porno where the sex is bad. Whereas,
Yep. Yeah.
yeah,
The
where
sex
it's like,
is
well, why am I
edited for
watching
television.
this? Yeah, like what? It's a Cinemax. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I watching this? Because you're CGIing all the car stunts. What's the point then if it's all CGI? This, it's like, okay, we're seeing like such good stunts.
Mm-hmm. That's a little bit of a
it-
different conversation for me, anyway. Like, I don't mind the CGI stunts of Fast and Furious so much if they would. I don't like.
So-
I like the like. I like how cartoony it is, but like I need like John Cena riding across an entire city on a zip line is the funniest thing in the universe to me. So I don't mind that it's like CGI, but like I felt like in the last one, some of the stunts just conceptually were kind of lazy. They just like didn't look that fun. Like in this trailer for the new one, like Dom gets torpedoed by two different helicopters. So what does he do? He fucking ramps his car and yanks those two helicopters together, baby. I love that shit. But I feel like there's not enough of that in the last one we saw. But anyway, that's a different conversation.
It is, but yeah, my general feeling is like
If you're,
we talked about this, where it's like, you know, if you're doing a car stunt, if a car is jumping something and you use a CGI car, what's the point in making the movie? You know.
And my standpoint is, if you're doing that, you better make it have a point. Like it better,
it better be fun.
Punch a hole through a battleship or something. You know,
it's always been the disconnect I have with a lot of Marvel, which is like if you're not impressed by the action, which I usually am not, then what am I watching it for? Because if you are doing CGI creatures slamming into each other, you better make it look good in another way, or be smart or clever. You know what I mean? And that's what you're talking about.
Be entertaining in
which
a
is like
different way.
that. Yeah, where it's like you don't care if it's CGI as long as the concept is fun, right?
Yeah, as long as it's fun and to watch.
Right, and I get that. Like the Fast and the Furious, there has been stunts they've done that's, been a lot of CGI that I'm like, I love this anyway.
Yeah, because it's so dumb and over the top.
Yeah, when it's just like cars ramming into each other, or like when it just feels, I don't know. That's another big component of action. It's like
I think the best example for me anyway was, we're getting a little bit off topic, but anyway, in the most recent Fast and the Furious, one of the big stunts in the finale was they flip a semi truck over, like end over end, but it's all CGI, and it's like, fellas, this is your big finale to a huge action movie in 2022 or 2021. The Dark Knight did this for real 15 years ago. Like they really flipped a semi end over end. So
the one the movie I remember talking about was that Mark Wahlberg Infinite or whatever, where he jumps a car onto the side of a plane. And they're like, "Isn't this cool?" And I'm like, "Well, it's all CGI." And let me tell you, I've seen so many more. Like compare that to like the last Triple X, where he skydives out of a plane that explodes and jettisons him through the plane. That is CGI. It's fake, but it's such an awesome sight that I hadn't seen before that I'm like, that's fucking hilarious.
It also happens after he flushes NFL star Tony Gonzalez down the toilet.
Down a toilet. Exactly. Where it's like you're having fun with it. Also,
and out of the plane.
Right. And that movie has legit stunts in it too. So it's like, and so like that's what it is like, when John Wick at the end of 3 falls off a building and it's clearly that they CGI'd it, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, that they weren't going to do that for real.
No, but they make it look visceral. Like they make it look like it hurts. Like they have them bounce off the fire escape and shit, and you're like, oh.
If every stunt was done that way, that'd be one thing. But it's just they've earned it, and so like, it's really, it's like this sliding scale, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, okay, if you're doing all CGI, you better think of ideas that I simply haven't seen before. Because let me tell you, audiences, people have now grown up with CGI. We're just not going to be impressed by that as much.
Specifically, that sort of Marvel spectacle, like that Marvel version of big epic action sequences that are just noise.
Right. You make up for that by having an emotional impact or just doing a concept, and it can be large scale, it can be small scale, just something people haven't really seen, Mm-hmm. Like the John Wick fight with the stairs is something that people hadn't seen.
Right. And it's such a simple idea. It's such a simple idea.
Yeah.
And it really is just like, well, we have this location. Let's wring every last bit of juice out of this.
Right, and like him falling down the stairs. It's like, I'm sure that was augmented, right? I'm sure stuntmen go downstairs for sure.
They may have removed crash pads, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something there. But it doesn't fucking matter because in that moment, the concept, have a guy fight all the way up these stairs and then have him kicked all the way back down. Again, it's been done like Old Boy did a version of that. There is
a cut in the middle of it too. So they, at the very least, they didn't have the stunt person fall down the entire flight of stairs at once.
But in that moment, you don't care. They've wowed you enough. So I think people understand what we're saying.
Yeah, we're kind of beating it to death now, but. Man,
like John Wick.
Like John Wick. But man, the action is so good.
It's John Wick.
It's so good. And I that's the positive thing I can say about the runtime is that they get to do these action scenes that just go on for several minutes and keep escalating.
Yeah, they sort of earned it. Mm-hmm. This is tough because like the length is like, how do you deal with that? Because again, I saw people miss the ending because 45 minutes of action right into the ending is tough. So like part of me is like, oh, maybe this is a good one to stream, but it's like, I don't know. I loved seeing in theaters. The sound design, the music, it's really, really fun in theaters.
It's a fun theater experience for sure.
Yeah, I would say this is what I'll tell you. After the dragon's breath scene in the abandoned building, if for some reason, I mean, I don't think it matters. Like, you can listen to this podcast and see the movie, and it's not really spoiling it because you have to see the shit for yourself. But between that, so after the dragon's breath scene, run to the bathroom.
Yeah.
and be prepared to finish it out after that. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because the length is a problem.
As soon as they cut to the radio lady, who's a clear homage to the Warriors, given the deets on John Wick's location out over the Assassin's underground radio station, like that's when the finale is beginning. So go
Shout
before
out to,
that happens.
I still love there's so many sketches I want to do set in the John Wick universe, because I love that they're like, no matter if you're in Paris, if you're in Japan, if you're in New York or LA, there's like job interviews where they're like, all right, are you a lady? Okay. Do you have a bunch of tattoos on you? Okay, you can work here. Because that's exclusively like, do you know how to use equipment from the 80s and 70s and 60s? Like, I just love that job is like, you have to use old timey equipment, be covered in tattoos.
You have to use a 116-year-old filing system.
Right.
Yeah. And have full arm length sleeves.
Right.
on
or
both.
Again, it's so silly in a fun way. Or
right,
like,
it's great. I love it.
I want to see someone be like, you're gonna love this EDM club. Listen, one thing. Someone might kind of go by you trying to kill another guy in an awesome way. Just ignore it. It's fine.
Just
it's part
let
of the
it
atmosphere.
happen.
Yeah. Listen, the drinks are really cheap here. Don't screw this up for me. Don't say anything. Just fucking roll with it.
Here's some Molly.
Here's some Molly. It'll make it go
there's
easy.
no way those people dancing in the waterfall after John Wick falls off like 3 buildings in this.
Yeah.
So after Scott Adkins kills him, like super kicks him over the edge of like this 20-foot drop, and he bounces off this column on the way down. And there's these people 10 feet away from him just dancing in a waterfall. It's like they are rolling their fucking faces off.
It would have been so funny if the scene ended with John Wick leaving and going like, "Why am I on Molly right now? How did I take Molly during that?
Just from
like
splashing around. Somebody's all the sweat. Yeah. It's a German nightclub. Everybody's everybody's rolling.
Yeah, holy shit. What a stupid world. I love it.
That's so great.
Yeah. All right.
I think we talked enough about John Wick Chapter 4.
I think so. I can't wait to watch it again.
Hell yeah.
Skipping around a bit, maybe. We'll see.
No, I'll
watch the
it'll
whole
be
thing.
less of
I'm excited watching the comfort of my own home for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad I saw it in theaters. All right, folks. Thank you so much for listening. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed, GAMEFULLY, unemployed. For just $5 a month, you get access to several exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spielboys. We watch movies every Friday night with our patrons. I am surprised we haven't watched the John Wicks.
Have we not? That can't be right.
We might have watched the first one, but I don't know, man. I don't think we've really watched them. And we're gonna have to. Yeah. So yeah, go on there. We have a Discord community too. Just check it out. It's cool.
Yeah. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So slap your high table peepers onto that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your German EDM peepers.
Yes. Those zany Germans.
Just Scott Adkins dressed like a comedy sketch.
He really, it's. And
just the look on his face when he's dead is just the doofiest. It's
it's like
he looks like he just sat on a thumbtack and he's supposed to be dead.
Yeah. It's just they humiliate him in the most
they really do,
way.
because he sucks. You hate him, and then
it's like he lost a bet, and they're like, "All right, you get to play this dipshit in John Wick
directly on his head."
Directly on his head. They don't give him any glory, none whatsoever. Actually,
they give him some.
He has that one move where he grabs him by his jacket, spins him, and clotheslines John Wick.
Oh yeah,
and that shit was intense. John Wick! I want to do a backflip so bad now.
Yeah, it's fucking. I'm amped.
Yeah, let's do backflips.
Let's do backflips, Dave. Let's do backflips in our cars.
Okay. Fuck it.
Yeah.
All right, bye forever.